You know, because of Monster of the Week, I always expect Craig to say something, but he never does in this one.
Yep.
Isn't it great that he's muted?
No, Craig's voice is the best. Honestly, Craig should be a character on this.
No.
Yeah.
It's already aggravating enough that his voice isn't in the recording, so we just have you being a creep at the beginning of every episode of Monster of the Week.
Yeah.
Anyway. We're continuing with the Tales from the Gas Station stuff. We are on part 4, A Merry Christmas from the Gas Station. Not sure how differently the night would have gone if Spencer's phone had it started ringing right then, and I'm also not sure how I keep forgetting that he has the only private cellular network on the planet that reliably gets service out of the gas station.
We forgot to take his phone?
Hold on, what? Is this the guy tied up or no?
Yeah, I think so.
No one's talking at the moment.
What?
Are you asking who Spencer is?
No, I was asking if Spencer's the one tied up.
Yes, that would be who's tied up.
Okay, right. Spencer's tied up, and some really famous person I forgot about is currently at the gas station, quote unquote.
Possibly
right?
not Donald Glover.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The last couple of times Spencer and I crossed paths, it didn't go well for me. I never learned how to fight or take a punch, but one thing I'm surprisingly good at is picking Spencer's pockets. Especially whenever he got a case of the bloodlust blinders. Somewhere in the box storage of about a dozen phones I've stolen off Spencer and Kiefer, his deceased former employer. But this go around in my hurry to get him taped to a chair before he woke up, the idea of stealing his phone again had completely escaped me.
You guys hear that? Asked not Donald.
We all stood in a weird semicircle around him, and there was no possible way we didn't all hear the ringing noise coming from just behind the supply closet door.
O'Brien and Rosa were between not Donald and the supply closet, with Jerry and me on the opposite side. We had him surrounded, and if only I could somehow telepathically convey to the others that we needed to jump him now while his guard was down, we might have a shot at incapacitating him while our skin was still intact.
I don't hear anything, blurted Rosa between rings. She was probably the worst liar I had ever witnessed. But now that she had set the narrative, the others decided to commit.
Yeah, me neither, said Jerry. Prob's just the wind.
Donald the Demon pointed at the supply closet and gave Jerry a raised eyebrow. You didn't hear that? The ringing coming from right behind that door?
No, said Jerry.
No? Okay, what about you? He said to the deputy. Are you going to gaslight too?
For some reason, O'Brien looked at me. I tried to make a hand gesture to say he's a demon. We need to cut off his head. But I think it just confused the hell out of her. She and I should never play charades together.
Yeah, it's nothing, she said.
It's nothing? Why are you people being so weird right now?
Okay, let's see. Rosa scoffed and said, "We're not being weird. You're the one acting weird."
Okay, he said.
A silent moment passed.
Then Demon Donald pointed his flashlight right at O'Brien's eyes. She flinched for just a second, enough time for Demonald to dart past her into the supply closet door.
Wait, I yelled.
But it was too late. Demonald had opened the door.
What the hell is going on? He asked, pointing the flashlight at Spencer.
O'Brien put her hands up and said, "It's okay. I can explain."
Spencer started shouting, "Oh my God, please help me. You've got to save me. These people are maniacs. They beat me and killed my wife. You have to get help."
Rosa, bad liar. Spencer, freaking amazing liar.
O'Brien yelled, "Close the door!" and took a step forward.
"Hey," yelled Demonald, "you stay back. Stay away from me. All of you."
Please untie me. She's not really a cop. They've killed people. So many people.
Spencer started crying, like real, actual tears.
I couldn't help it. I started slow clapping.
Everyone turned their flashlights to me except for Jerry, who was clapping along.
Damn it, Jerry.
You got something to say? Asked the shapeshifter, formerly known as Donald.
Yeah, how about we don't turn this into a huge farce? How about we all come clean in the spirit of Christmas? You're not really musical icon and famed television and movie star Donald Glover. You're really Sagoth, the shape-shifting demon.
Do you have any idea how ridiculous you sound right now? Asked hopefully Sagoth.
Yeah, I do, because I just said it.
These people, sobbed Spencer, they're crazy. They're talking about demons and angels and they're killing people. There's something wrong with them. Please run. Get help.
Wait, why was Spencer staying in character? I just told him that this was Sagoth. Why didn't he drop the act?
Unless...
Sagoth wasn't the one that had beaten him senseless and left him propped up against our door?
I felt a sudden pang of dread. The situation was spiraling out of control way faster than I could keep up with it.
O'Brien attempted damage control. Everybody keep calm. Donald, my name is Deputy Amelia O'Brien.
You're a deputy?
Yes.
And do you think I'm a demon?
No, of course not.
But that guy does. He waved his flashlight at me and then pointed it at Spencer. And this guy right here?
He's a wanted criminal.
Okay, so that's why you beat him up and duct taped him to a chair and hid him in a dark closet? Is that something deputies do?
No, not exactly.
Fuck this, I'm out.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
Fuck this shit, I'm out. I said, fuck this shit, I'm out.
Before she could say anything else, Donald, maybe, turned and ran out the back door, letting out another cold blast of freezing snow rush into the store before O'Brien raced out after him.
The only sound in the room for the next minute was Spencer laughing. No, not laughing, cackling.
When he had finished, he said with a shit-eating grin, "This is getting fun."
He eats shit? Ew.
I wanted to run out after them. As stupid as it sounds, if I had been able to run, I would have, but they were gone and O'Brien was an adult who made her own decision. All I could do was wait. The time crept by slowly, waiting for her to return. Intrusive mental images of a demon flaying my friend did not help. Neither did Spencer's comments.
Hey, Rosa, isn't it?
She looked up.
Shut up, I said.
Let me ask you one question. What exactly did Jack tell you about me, huh? Did he try to sell you that horse shit about me being some kind of sociopath?
Rosa answered. The exact word he used was psychopath?
Spencer laughed again.
No, I've never heard anyone before in my entire life. I came out here for Jack. I'm worried about him. You know what he has, right? You know what FFI does to your brain? He shouldn't be out near other people. He needs to be in the hospital where he can't hurt anybody else.
What do you mean anybody else?
I crutch walked over to Spencer and considered hitting him, but decided against it for two reasons. First, that would have been embarrassingly ineffective, and second, it was obvious that that's what he wanted. He was trying to flip Rosa and prove that I was the bad guy.
Oh no. Hold on. Sorry. Fucking getting spam botted right now.
Uh-oh.
Okay, then.
No, what do you mean by anybody else? Did you say that?
I said that.
I don't know why I thought it was a good idea to engage in conversation.
Do you have any idea how annoying it is to live with what you did to my leg?
Very.
I'd bet it's not half as bad as what you did to any of the folks you killed. Why don't we ask Kiefer, or how about my old boss?
Hey, I didn't kill your old boss.
A second passed before he cracked a smile, and I realized what I had done.
What about Kiefer? Asked the soft, nervous voice from behind me.
Oh, I said, turn to Rosa. Yeah, him either. I didn't kill anybody.
Now, let me ask you a question, Jack. You know, 'cause you're in such an honest mood right now. Whatever happened to Carlos? Huh? I've been sitting here in the dark all night, and I can't shake this weird thought. Am I the only one that wants to know why Carlos isn't here?
I looked at Jerry and said, "Put him in the cooler."
We wheeled the psychopath into the walk-in Double check that the duct tape was secure, then close the door and propped a chair up against the handle. He could scream his teeny black heart's content in there, and it wouldn't bother us.
10 more minutes passed before O'Brien returned to the store.
He got away, she said as she dusted the snow off of her jacket.
Jerry shattered a glass of beer
Yes.
against the wall and pointed the jagged fragment at her, yelling, "Nice try, demon."
She glared at him and said, "If you try to come near me with that thing, you better be ready to use it, because either I'm going down or you are."
He's right, I said.
What? Asked Rosa and O'Brien at the same time.
O'Brien was alone out...
Brian was alone out there with Saga for how long? You have no idea if you're really you anymore.
Jack, I think you're confused.
Rosa raised her hand and said, "Why don't we just ask her something that only the real O'Brien would know?"
Good idea, said Jerry. Is Jack circumcised?
Dude!
How the hell would I know that? She answered.
Jerry looked at me and then back at her, then back at me.
Oh, were you two not... Oh, I'm sorry. I think I totally misread the whole situation.
"Remind me to kick your ass later," she said, taking the words right out of my mouth before pointing her flashlight at the empty supply closet. "Where's Spencer?"
Explained that he was trying to get into her heads and we had no choice but to put him in there. It was self-defense. Amazingly, she didn't disagree. It took a minute for the situation to calm down, but eventually Jerry lowered his bottle knife and agreed that we would all just keep an eye on one another until daylight and backup came.
I lit the last of our candles and placed them all around the store, then got O'Brien alone in a corner. Jerry was still eyeballing us pretty hard, so I whispered quietly, "There's something I think you need to see."
"What is it?" she whispered back.
Can't say exactly. Need to show you.
Okay, where is it?
"I need Spencer's phone."
Let me guess. Still on him.
I nodded. In the midst of Spencer's mind games, I had once again forgotten to steal his cell phone.
"I'll be right back," she said.
I followed as close behind as possible as she crossed to the cooler and came back and pulled back the chair. I definitely didn't love the idea of opening that cooler door. Every time I think of Spencer, I convince myself that he's already figured out a way to escape, and he's just a few seconds from falling down on me from the ceiling like evil Spider-Man.
What's she doing? Asked Jerry in an atypical voice that I would call concerned if it were coming from anyone else.
We didn't answer. Instead, O'Brien opened the door, pointed her flashlight at the still smiling Spencer, and walked up to him. Waited until she had put her flashlight on a shelf and reached her hand into Spencer's pocket before I sprung into action, slamming the closet door shut and pushing the chair back into place.
I could hear her muffled screams and scream and slams against the other side of the metal door.
I'm sorry, I whispered.
Dude, what the hell?
I leaned my back against the cooler and looked at the shocked faces of Jerry and Rosa.
Had I made a mistake?
If that really is O'Brien, then we'll know in a few hours when help arrives. If it isn't, then we've gotten the demon exactly where we need it.
What demon? Screamed the ever-inquisitive Rosa. When did you start talking angels and demons? I'm willing to give you the benefit of the doubt, but a person has their limits. All I know is that you've been acting strange all night. And when your friend shot me with a taser in my sleep. And then you come in with this guy they're all fanboying over so hard I expect you to start drinking his bathwater.
Nice.
There's a joke here to be made about Belle Delphine. And then out of nowhere you start saying he's a demon?
Demon!
Well, when you put it like that, sure, I guess this does look bad.
You think? Where's the gun, huh? You two go outside and then Jerry just loses the gun? How do we know you didn't take it?
Yeah, yelled Jerry. How do we know you didn't take it?
I gave him my coldest stare.
Oh gosh, I want you to let O'Brien out of the cooler right now, please.
She crossed her arms and started tapping her foot.
Punch her.
I can't do that.
Punch him. Why not?
She called me Jack.
So?
Yeah, Echo Jerry. So what?
So, she never calls me Jack. She calls me Crutches, or Weirdo Boy, or some other slightly insensitive pet name. I've never heard her call me Jack before.
Said Jerry. He does make a compelling point.
Rosa screamed, "Shut up!"
It was too late. Spencer had put the roots of doubt into Rosa's mind, and there was nothing I could say that would get her back on board. Fortunately for me, I didn't have to say anything, because right then the front doors opened and O'Brien walked in.
He got away, she said as she dusted the snow off of her jacket.
Jerry shared another glass of beer bottle against the wall and pointed the jacket fire at her, yelling, "Nice try, demon!"
She glared at him and said, If you come near me with that thing, you better be ready to use it, because either I'm going down or you are."
Fuck.
How did you get out? Rosa stammered.
Get out of what? She asked.
Oh, check it out, Jerry said to the room. It's Rosa's first time witnessing something paranormal. Let's see how she reacts.
O'Brien put her hands up and said, "What the hell are you talking about? And why is the chair next to the cooler? And where's Duct Tape Boy?"
Rosa fainted. Strange as it sounds, it's probably a good thing she wasn't conscious for this next part.
Nice.
Alright.
Nice.
On to part 5. Did you ever... Oh, wait, no. Tomlin.
Oh, is it? Okay, sorry.
Yes.
Did you ever hear the one about the guy who thought the fireman was an arsonist? Admittedly, it's not a very good joke, or even if it were, I'm awful at delivery. People usually think I'm trying to be funny when I'm not, and same for the other way around. At any rate, the punchline is something to the effect of, every time there's a fire, he's there. Feel free to forget that joke if you want to. It's not important, just something I was thinking about.
Jerry covered Rosa in a blanket and made every attempt to keep her comfortable while I tried to explain the situation to O'Brien.
Sec, I think there's either something just wrong with me right now or something wrong in general. Okay, it was just me. So you're telling me there's an evil doppelganger inside that cooler?
Yeah.
And how do you know that's what it is?
Magic radio and a monster hunter told us.
I just do.
I need more than that to go on.
Please, just don't go into the cooler until after help has arrived. You can wait a few more hours, right?
I could see the gears turning in her head and had to wonder if she thought I was crazy or if she were about to rip off our flesh and feed on our suffering. Surely, if this actually were the shapeshifter, there wouldn't be any better opportunity to start picking us off. 2 of us were locked in the cooler. 1 of us was unconscious. I've never been much of a fighter, even with all of my limbs, and Jerry was, well, Jerry.
Obviously, she did not kill and eat me, so I was forced to assume that this really was the original O'Brien, and the one in the cooler was the devil. But my confidence level in anything, reality included, had hit 0 and started digging a long time ago.
A pair of headlights lit up the room, and we both looked outside at the snow truck pulling into the parking lot. I couldn't believe it. The cavalry was early. In my experience, anything that happened to the gas station, anything can happen at the gas station. But seriously, that never happened.
The cavalry was Saul Berthelot, or Berthelo, probably Berthelo, the retired school bus driver and owner/operator of the only snowplow in town. That's funny. He must have had plans for Christmas because people around here aren't exactly known for finishing ahead of schedule, especially Saul, and especially on the taxpayer dime. So I'll take my miracles where I can get them these days.
Saul pulled up next to Pump 2, honked a couple times, and waved at me.
O'Brien stated the obvious. I think the Jagoff wants you to turn on the pump.
He knows the pumps don't work without electricity, doesn't he?
I guess he does not.
None of us wanted to open the door and go back into the freezing cold, but when the pumps hadn't magically switched on after a few seconds, Saul decided it would be a good idea to lean on the horn until somebody came out to help him.
I'm just imagining like he just puts his face down on the horn and it just starts just going off. O'Brien pulled out her keys and started for the door.
God damn it. Where are you going? I asked, stumbling after her and trying my best not to make it sound like I suspected she might be on her way to kill him and strip his flesh.
I have a can of gas in my truck. I was going to help him on his way, if it's all right with you, Jack.
I suddenly felt very small. It's bad enough not being able to trust my own eyes or memories or mind. It's so much worse not being able to trust my friends.
Hang on a second, Jerry said before O'Brien pushed the door open. You just called Jack Jack.
So? She asked.
Jerry looked at me and waved his hands in the air like he just didn't care. Your entire basis for locking the other O'Brien in the cooler was that she called you Jack.
O'Brien shook her head at me. I call you Jack all the time. It's your name, dumbass.
Don't open that door!
Behind Jerry, Rosa was floating with her eyes rolled back into pupilless white bulges. He looked back at her and casually said, "Oh snap, she's floating again."
It is not safe. Something has found you. It is waiting. Hungry outside. Oh fuck, dude. It's my mixtape.
God damn. She slowly started to rise into the air by a few more inches until Jerry grabbed her by the waist. I'm gonna have to tie her to a chair or a doorknob or something. Do you remember where Benjamin left all that paracord?
There is something on the roof.
Looked her in the eye area and asked, now, is this like a metaphorical something on the roof?
You fools, there is something on the roof!
With that, Rosa pointed out the glass doors, up at the covered awning over the gas pumps, at the thing leaning over the edge, staring down at the snowplow.
Oh.
What followed was actually pretty difficult to describe what we saw. When we saw it, the three of us had a shared moment, a visceral animal reaction like a nut punch to the soul.
Before that instant, I had seen some truly bizarre things. Truly bizarre things that many people would have considered horrific. My own exposed bones, a clan of nudist zombies, a snake and spider hybrid. I could keep on listing things all day, but my point is, after this, I'm going to have to completely re-examine my concept of horrific. The very image of that creature, which is not even the right word for it if human language is even capable of one, has something that was something that eyes were never meant to see. It forced our minds to pass fight or flight into some third option, like my brain simply gave up and shat its pants. That we all said it at the same time.
Fuck.
Rosa fell into Jerry's arm with her eyes closed, and he dropped her onto the ground like a sack of dog food. We're all transfixed on the horrendous beast on the ledge of the pump awning. Its head was the size of a beach ball, shaped more or less like an enormous skull. The eyes were sunk in charcoal pockets that didn't appear to move in time or relation with the rest of the body, sort of like balls of smoke. 2 nostril slits above a half-open mouth filled with disorganized rows of serrated chalk-white teeth, like those of a shark, each one about the size of my thumb. It had 2 spiraling horns, both at least a yard in length, and shiny black marble in appearance. The thing's clawed hands were tipped in jagged talons, blacker than black, and its skin resembled that of a third-degree burn. Pinkish deposits of scar tissue glued upon layers of giant ropey muscles.
Even more interesting was that we could see the beast in all its monstrous glory outlined against the sky, even though there were no lights out there other than the ones of the snowplow. Our eyes were picking up a whole new wavelength outside of the normal visible spectrum, and it was all coming from this thing.
Three-way jinx, yelled out Jerry, temporarily snapping the rest of us back to reality and in all likelihood saving us from losing what was left of our minds.
O'Brien fell to the ground and started violently barfing. Oh no.
Hey!
Barf.
Yelled Saul from the inside of his truck. You guys got any gas left or what?
As much as I didn't want to look back out those doors, I had to. Saul was about to do something he had no idea would be the single worst mistake of his life.
He's about to hit us with a dab. Feel like maybe I should tell you just a little bit more about Saul. When I was too young to drive, I would have to walk half a mile every morning to my area school bus pickup spot at 5:30. My house was close to Saul's hunting camp where he parked the school bus, so that meant I was always first on the bus route. If I were ever late, he would leave without me, but depending on how hungover he was, he might not start driving until 6:30 or 7, which meant I would have to stand in the middle of the dirt field next to the road for up to an hour and a half at the point of each day when mosquitoes were waking up.
After his wife left him, he became a much more intolerable drunk, and his kids would show up to school with bruises and broken teeth.
He would spend hours at the gas station sometimes, refilling the same cup of coffee over and over and droning on to anybody that would listen to him about which new group of people he had decided was ruining his country.
Oh gosh. One time his name came up on the transmission.
There is a man, Saul Berlow. He cries alone in beer stand. His blood alcohol content is 0.3110. He owns 42 firearms. His favorite color is purple.
Nice.
I guess my point, if I even have one, is that Saul was a shitty bus driver, a shitty husband and father, a shitty customer, a shitty person, and probably a shitty hunter too. He was a lot like most people in this town, actually, but even still, I did not want to watch him get his skin ripped off.
Why?
Because then he'd have to watch him get his skin ripped off, and that'd just be uncomfortable.
Alright. I got to the front doors and pushed them open. At the same time, Saul was stepping out of the snow truck. I screamed, "Stay inside your vehicle!"
Either Saul hadn't heard me or he decided to ignore it, choosing instead to down the rest of his 40-ounce Natty Light before tossing it into the snow.
Saul, go back to your truck. There's a gas leak or something.
Shh. Or something.
Or something. He was a couple yards from his truck when he looked at me and yelled back, "Fuck you, I need to take a piss!"
The creature lurched forward from the edge of the awning, reaching its left arm down with the speed of a mousetrap and snatched Saul into the air by his feet. The beast pulled Saul, dangling upside down, screaming and cursing close to its mouth.
Saul was extremely lucky that he always kept a loaded pistol tucked into his pants. Not because that helped him survive the situation. No, he died. Like, so much dead. But at least the pistol saved him from what could have been a feast of agony for the thing on the awning, which I had deduced by now was actually the real Demon Sagoth.
Well, that actually raises a bit of a question.
Yeah, I don't know who the doppelganger is then.
So he popped off a couple rounds to the demon's face, but a mortal weapon was ineffective as a bee sting, and all it did was piss off the demon enough to slam Saul forced against the concrete pavement below.
When he picked the man back up, his broken body dangled lifelessly in the monster's hand. Its other hand, it poked at Saul a few times. Then, with one of its talons, opened the man up and spilled his blood out onto the snow.
As far as last words go, fuck you, I need to take a piss are probably not the ones you want on your tombstone.
I mean, I know a few people that probably would be their last words.
Okay.
I felt
myself being yanked backwards by my shirt collar and tossed onto the floor of the gas station before O'Brien closed and locked the door.
Yeah, nice. Lock the door. The deadbolt will be sure to stop the 20-foot-tall demon creature from coming inside.
I know, right? It's the perfect plan.
She pulled me to my feet and said one word. Weapons.
I have none. We stayed as far away from the doors as possible while we turned the place and set out looking for whatever we could use to defend ourselves, but it was seriously slim pickings, broken glass shards, chair legs, a piece of spare crutches, 3 pocket knives. We didn't have what it took to kill that thing outside if it wanted us to.
Can't believe he's dead, lamented O'Brien as she collected a few bottles of our more flammable liquor. Just like that.
Welp, Jerry answered as he duct taped a pocket knife to the edge of a chair leg. He died doing what he loved. Shooting stuff.
O'Brien shook her head in disgust. Jerry caught the gesture and asked, "Oh, I'm sorry, were you and Rando close?"
Dude, I said, I know tensions are high because it's Christmas and all, but read the room. A man just died.
So what? Jerry said defensively. Somebody dies every 600 milliseconds. We can't function if we have to grieve every single one of them. Are we really going to pretend that any of us are broken up over that red shirt? If we can be perfectly honest for a second, the value of human life out here at the gas station is grossly over-exaggerated, and out of the 6 people inside this building, Rosa is probably the only one of us that hasn't killed anybody.
He stared at me and O'Brien, daring us to call him on that. We all just stood still, trying to think of what to say, but there really wasn't anything to say. For all his faults, Jerry could be very Jerry-ish sometimes, and it's easy for me to forget that when I first met him, he was trying to get me to join a murder cult.
Well, I finally said, it's only her first day.
We allowed ourselves a short, awkward laugh before going back to hunting for weapons. I can't say exactly how much time had passed, but the 3 of us were ripping open every box in the supply closet when we heard Rosa say, "Hey guys, what happened?"
Man died.
We looked back and saw her standing in the doorway, pointing Saul's revolver at the floor.
Where did you get that? Asked O'Brien.
I saw this thing just sitting there on the ground outside. Did you guys know there's a snow truck out there?
How did you get it? O'Brien asked, even though I think we all knew the answer already.
I just walked outside and picked it up. Why? The annoyance at her voice had ticked up a notch.
Don't do that again.
Why not? The annoyance in her... Oh, what?
Yeah, it's your line.
It's your line.
Why not? The annoyance in her voice had ticked up a couple more notches.
Don't worry about it.
Jerry jumped in with, "You didn't happen to see a terrifyingly huge hell monster while you were out there, did you?"
No. She squinted at him and said, "No. Did you... No, why? Did you lose one?"
O'Brien reached out and snatched the gun from her hand.
Hey!
So I didn't feel like explaining to everybody why I'm the only one that should have a gun right now.
That's fair. I wasn't even mad.
I was, however, mad at the plan that she laid out next. Desperate times call for desperate measures, and there was one resource we had purposefully neglected to tap before now. Whatever was left inside of the cooler, we were going to need help fighting the thing outside, and whether I liked it or not, Spencer was a survivor.
Ew. Just toss Spencer outside. O'Brien checked the revolver to see we had 4 bullets left. That would almost certainly not be enough if we needed it.
The deputy opened the door. Gun in hand, while the rest of us stood close behind holding flashlights. Our job was to collectively point them into the eyes of anybody or anything that might try to jump out at us, if it came to that.
We didn't know what to expect when we opened the door, but the first thing we saw was the empty chair that Spencer had been duct taped to.
Nice. "Hello?" O'Brien called into the room. "Is anybody alive in there?"
After a few seconds with no response, she stepped into the cooler, and I immediately regretted going along with this plan. Spencer flew in from next to the cooler door, hooked an arm around O'Brien's gun hand, and spun her into the wall. The gun clacked to the ground, and we all pointed our flashlights at him, but he was just way too... tried pointing our flashlights at him, but he was just way too freaking fast. He planted a solid boot into Jerry's solar plexus, sending him crashing into the wall across from the cooler door, and he snatched a handful of Rosa's hair, yanking her into the cooler with him. Before O'Brien could even stand up, Spencer had Rosa in a chokehold with the pencil that we'd used for inventory counts pressed tightly against her neck.
Sorry.
"You guys get bored without me or something?" he taunted. I kept my flashlight trained on him as he slowly backed into the cooler. The deputy's handcuffs were still around his wrists, but the chain had been snapped, and now it was nothing more than a pair of fancy bracelets.
"Dude, listen," I started.
"Shut up," he yelled back. "Here's how this is gonna work. First..."
Crack!
Spencer released Rosa and fell to the ground, his head colliding with the floor and bouncing. Behind him stood, oh shit, not this again, Spencer, holding the weapon he had just bludgeoned the other Spencer with, the same flashlight that O'Brien double had taken into the cooler, and I was just starting to realize the same exact flashlight that I had given to the Donald Glover double earlier that night.
"Damn," said Spencer, conscious one. "This what I look like? I am one sexy motherfucker."
The expression on his face changed once he spotted something on the cooler floor. I followed his eyes to where he was looking and saw it. Saul's revolver.
Oh shit. O'Brien leapt forward at the same time as Spencer, and they both collided. Before reaching it, they went flying into the shelves. O'Brien catching most of the impact, and I dove into the cooler, finding the disgustingly sticking ground and feeling around in the dark until my hands felt a cold, heavy piece of metal. I pointed at Spencer, but there was no way I was going to get a clear shot, especially with Rosa's wild flashlight's job.
Spencer threw O'Brien into the rolling chair, and she flipped over it onto the floor. He wiped a bead of blood from his face and took a step toward me. That's as far as he made it before another body jumped out of the dark and tackled him from the side.
Here's where things got even more confusing. Pencil Spencer landed on top of Flashlight Spencer and started punching him hard, but not hard enough. In no time, Flashlight Spencer had slammed his flashlight into Pencil Spencer's fist, then flipped him on his back and started wailing on him.
I had my gun aimed right at them both, completely not sure what to do. I looked at O'Brien and said, I don't know which one's the real Spencer.
Who fucking cares? She yelled back. Shoot them both.
Flashlight Spencer stopped punching. He and Pencil Spencer both looked at me and said, Huh?
Huh? I hesitated.
Huh? Pencil Spencer stabbed the pencil into Flashlight Spencer's shoulder and twisted. Flashlight Spencer winced and jumped off of him. Right then, Jerry called out from the cooler doorway,
Hey, butt brain!
He was holding a lit Molotov cocktail, but not for long. Before I had time to scream bad idea, he pitched the damn thing at Flashlight Spencer.
Sorry, I'm just now thinking of what the fuck a Molotov cocktail is.
It's a flaming liquid?
No, that's
alcohol?
a Molotov cocktail.
Yeah.
You said Mazel Tov cocktail.
Okay. And?
I'm trying to figure out what exactly this substitution with a Yiddish word would entail. Is it something that you use specifically for celebrations?
I don't know.
Anyway,
Yes.
It was... See, at least someone's playing along.
Yeah, I'm not going to play along with that.
You never do.
Yeah.
The thing was chucked at Flashlight Spencer, who fucking caught it with his fucking hand.
Just when I think things couldn't get any crazier, Pencil Spencer punched the still burning weapon hard enough to shatter it into a blue fireball that lit up the entire room for just a moment before burning out and leaving us all in the dark trying to catch our breaths.
Wait, blue?
Magic.
It's a hot flame. Also depends on what's being burned. If it's an alcohol with any dyes in it, it might have ended up blue.
Rosa pointed her flashlight at the figure running out of the cooler. The Spencer ran right through Jerry like he was made out of balloons, then disappeared out the back door. After a couple seconds, we collectively remembered that there was still a Spencer in the room with us. Pointed our flashlights around to find him. First I looked at where he was, finding nothing but specks of blood and broken shells, and I pointed at Brian. Then Rosa, who was sitting on the ground, pointing a flashlight at me, and then the other Rosa, who was sitting right next to her, holding the identical flashlight.
Oh, lovely.
The Roses both crawled quickly to opposite sides of the cooler and then stared at one another with the exact same look of frozen shock while O'Brien stood between them and spoke.
Okay, so here's the deal. One of you is the shapeshifter. That's the one I'm talking to right now. We didn't come in here to hurt you. We came in here because we need your help. There is something outside the gas station that just killed a man.
Watched both their faces and instantly knew. One Rosa looked up at O'Brien and asked in a soft voice, "Somebody died?"
The other waited for about a second too late to mimic the look of fear and concern on the real Rose's face.
I walked right up to the shapeshifter and said, "You're busted."
She looked at me with a sweet little, "What did I do?" look, but it wasn't fooling me.
Then the look changed into a wry smile. Then she chuckled. "Hey, what can I do? You got me."
So, I started, who is Sagoth?
She got to her feet and then answered, "Oh, I don't doubt you've got a ton of questions, but I don't have time or desire to answer them. This has just been a nice distraction, but if what you say is true, then I need to get to work."
You could have escaped anytime you wanted. I surmised.
Yeah, but you humans are such curious creatures, and I needed something to do to pass the time until Sagoth showed up. Well, I'll be off, and when you wake up, you won't remember any of this.
Apparently not, because somebody remembers this.
Whoops.
The double waved its hand, and O'Brien, Jerry, and Rosa Prime all fell to the floor unconscious. I looked at each of them just to make sure they were still breathing, and then back at the mimic Rosa in front of me.
Well, this is certainly strange, but it's time you go to sleep.
She waved her hand again.
I blinked a couple times.
What? She said.
I don't sleep, I said back. I thought I told you that.
You may have told Rosa, but I can't copy memories, Jack. Just voices and faces.
Who are you?
I really don't have time for...
I pointed the revolver at her and squeezed the trigger.
Now I know that sounds bad, and I'm sure you moral absolutists out there are probably thinking to yourselves, I would not have done that if I were in this situation. Well, you know what? You weren't. I was. And I was actually pretty pissed off. Not just because this asshole has been screwing with us, using us as bait till we were at the real demon and letting us all go super paranoid on one another the whole time, but also because after all of this, after everything I'd been through that night, he just announced that I was going to be the only one to remember any of it.
Besides, I had already worked out that a bullet to the chest wasn't going to kill it.
Ouch! It screamed, immediately transforming into O'Brien before my eyes. Why would you do that? All I wanted to do was to help you, but if I have to kill you to get Sagoth, I will, and you're not...
I shot it again, aiming for the center mass like Benjamin always said.
The creature immediately transformed into Jerry. It smiled, and I shot it again. That's when it turned into someone else. It turned into her, she who shall not be named, the girl that would haunt my dreams if I were capable of having any. The creature looked at me with her green eyes and asked, "Well, are you going to shoot me again?"
I sighed and lowered the gun again. What's the point? And then I shot him again.
It changed one last time, and then I was standing in my own presence, and I gotta say, I didn't realize how rough I was starting to look. I desperately needed a haircut. The circles under my eyes had their own shadows. My cheekbones were getting more pronounced, and I was even skinnier than I looked in the mirror.
Jack, I'm going to tell you something I've never told a human before. To me, your kind are a lot like hamsters. I don't feel compelled to explain my actions or motivations to people because you're so primitive and unevolved that you simply couldn't wrap your tiny mind around it anyway.
Okay, I said, that's fair.
There's no such thing as demons. Sagoth is my responsibility. He sleeps inside one of the wrinkles in your universe. But something has woken him up. Something even I don't know. Every century or so, I have to put him back to sleep, which is why I'm here. Not to hurt you, but to help.
Benjamin, in case you're reading this right now, you were wrong. Again. Also, fuck you.
The legend started a long time ago of a demon. People saw a shapeshifter every time Sagoth awoke and feasted, and before long Seaman conflated us.
Oh, I said.
Firefighter.
I'm going to stop Sagoth from destroying your world now, Jack, but before I do, there's one last piece of information I want to leave you with. When I take somebody's form, I don't see memories, but I can feel what's inside of them. In a lack of a better term, I'm what your kind calls an empath.
Okay.
You and your friends here are all kinds of messed up. You would need an army of psychiatrists to untangle the mental slinkies inside your minds.
Thanks!
That's not what I wanted to say. Your fucked up brains aren't that special. The other one, Spencer, looked inside of him and all I saw was nothing. Absolutely nothing. The same as what I see when I look at a table or a rock. He's just a black void.
Yeah, I responded. I actually already knew that.
Took a step back and let my doppelganger walk out of the cooler, then right out the front doors.
Oh, fuck. The rest of the night passed without incident. The others slept where they fell, but I tried to make them comfortable with blankets and pillows made out of bags with stale bread. When the sun came up, I cleaned enough to fill four contractor bags. Then I began writing up inventory loss slips for everything that had been damaged in the fights. Fights. It's amazing how productive you can be when you don't sleep.
After everything was back in order, I sat in my chair behind the register and read for an hour or so while the others slept off whatever the shapeshifter had done to them.
My first customer walked into the store a little while after that. I didn't bother looking up for my book because I had already posted a sign on the door that said we didn't have electricity, I couldn't sell gas or run cards or accept cash, and nothing worked. I added my own festive touch to the bottom with a drawing of a Christmas tree.
The customer walked up to the counter and interrupted my book right when it was finally started to get interesting.
Excuse me, do you have any Band-Aids?
No, fuck off. I looked up from my book and saw that the man standing there was Spencer fucking Middleton, complete with a pencil still sticking out of his shoulder. Quickly reached for the gun, which I had left on the counter, and realized it wasn't even there anymore.
Spencer lifted the revolver and asked, "Was this what you were looking for? Feels a little light. You think you were going to take me out with the first shot?"
I slowly dog-eared my page and placed the book on the counter before asking, "Is there any way you're actually just the shapeshifter?"
Spencer shook his head.
A minute later, we were back outside in the knee-deep snow behind the gas station. Spencer dug the barrel of the gun into my back and walked me toward the woods. Before we got there, he said, "Stop." Then he looked around, smelled the air, smiled, and pulled a long knife out of its sheath on his belt. "Yeah, this'll work. Are you left-handed or right-handed?"
Why? I asked.
Never mind. He grabbed my left hand and sliced my pinky clean off, then grabbed both of my crutches and yanked them away from me. I hit the thick blanket of snow and hugged my rapidly bleeding hand wound against my stomach. The hot white liquid pouring out felt strangely comforting as it warmed my torso.
"Nothing personal. I just needed some bait. Got a new boss now, and he wants me to bag and tag something special. Now do me a favor and keep on bleeding. Won't take long for the thing to catch your scent. For what it's worth, if this thing doesn't kill you, I'll let you live."
He turned and began to walk away.
"Hey, Spencer!" I yelled after him.
He stopped. "Yeah?"
You're a dick.
He laughed and walked back into the gas station carrying my crutches under his arms. I laid my back looking up at the sky and heard the familiar sound of the gas station door closing, followed by the familiar scraping noise of the deadbolt going into place. If I was going to give survival an old college try, it would have to be now or never.
I pushed myself along on my good hand and leg, leaving a sloppy trail of bloody snow behind me. Maneuvering in my condition was going to be difficult, to say the least, and I could sense that my vision was beginning to tunnel, which for me is a particularly bad prospect. If I lose consciousness, it means I'm dead.
I managed to pull myself all the way to the side of the gas station before I finally decided that this was a waste of time. I wasn't getting inside, and even if I did, Spencer would just pull me right back out. There was nothing left to do but hope for one more miracle.
"Hey, Jack, what are you doing out here?"
I looked up to see my old friend Tom,
"Tom?"
with his white hair perfectly matching the snowy landscape. Tom was the first deputy they sent out to babysit us, and the first one to die. I squeezed my bloody nub under my armpit to try and slow the bleeding as I worked out if I was looking at a ghost hallucination or the shapeshifter, and I realized that I genuinely couldn't tell.
Spencer's using me for bait.
Tom instantly morphed into a 7-foot-tall, 400-pound Samoan covered in scars and tribal tattoos that limited the options down to hallucination or shapeshifter.
"The punk is back?" he barked.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I need to teach him a lesson about...
He stopped and turned back to the woods. Something out there was crunching loudly through the forest, snapping through branches and causing a hell of a lot of noise as it approached. The Samoan figure crouched next to me and whispered, "Sorry, looks like we don't have time to get you out of here. Sagoth has smelled your blood, and now he's coming. Now he comes for you."
That sucks.
Oof. Listen to me very closely. There's one thing you need to know about Sagoth. He has one weakness, and that is he cannot hurt you if you don't look at him. Do you understand?
No.
Close your eyes. No matter what happens, no matter what you hear, keep your eyes shut until you hear me say the word salutum. Until then, he will do everything he can to trick you into opening your eyes. Once you do that, all bets are off. He'll start with your eyelids. Do you understand?
Still, no.
The shapeshifter sighed and said, "Close your eyes."
Right then I saw it. Sagoth, pushing his way through the forest. He stood as tall as the trees, horrendous and humanoid, with an aura of inconceivable terrors and a face that screamed all things dark and hateful. I shut my eyes and instantly felt blessed relief.
It's okay, said a sweet, gentle voice. You can look now. It's safe.
He will do everything he can to trick you into opening your eyes.
No, that's okay.
From behind me, I heard O'Brien screaming, Jack, help me.
You'll have to do better than that.
All at once, I felt them crawling all over me. Insects. They chirped and squeaked as they flooded up my pants leg and under my clothes and even into my nose, ears, and mouth. I gagged and swatted at them, but still pressed my eyes shut as hard as I could.
A burning heat blasted across my face as I heard the giant being scream from inches away. Maggot, open your eyes and behold your damnation.
No thanks, I yelled back.
And then he brought out the big guns. The next thing I knew, I was falling. There was no earth beneath me, only air whipping against my skin as I plummeted down, down, down. It's a good thing I'm such a coward, because I think squeezing my eyes shut in a situation like that was actually my natural reaction.
After falling for what felt like ages, I finally landed in the warm ocean. This is about to get really tough.
I kicked and screamed at the water around me with no idea which way was up or down. I was certain that I was about to drown, but still, I kept my eyes shut.
Eventually, I could feel myself rising.
That's my
fuck.
line.
Fick.
Eventually, I could feel myself rising. The air left in my lungs was maybe possibly enough to pull me to the surface. I held up for as long as I could until my lungs ached with a pain that was almost as bad as death, and still I had not broken the surface. This was it, the moment I would finally die. But if I had to go, I wasn't going to give that douchebag demon the satisfaction of knowing he had beaten me. I kept my eyes shut, put up 2 middle fingers, and took a deep breath of water.
Which, of course, turned out to be air. As soon as I inhaled, I was transported back into the snow-covered patch of dirt next to the gas station, completely dry and still freezing to death.
The air suddenly reeked of boiled eggs, and a girl's voice said into my ear, "Salute him. You can open your eyes, Jack. Sagoth is back where he belongs."
I cautiously opened one eyelid and looked at the amazingly beautiful woman standing beside me and asked her, "So, he's gone?"
For now, it's interesting. Most people crack at the spiders and look, but you got all the way to the ocean. I don't expect this mean too much to you, but I'm actually impressed.
A metal pole erupted from the center of her chest, and she fell to her knees, coughing up copious amounts of blood. She looked down at the thing with a bewildered expression, then fell over onto her side.
The pole was thin like an arrow, covered in serrated hooks, and once she hit the ground I could see that it was actually a spear. The other end of it protruded from her back with a black cord connected to it, running all the way across the yard to the feet of Spencer Middleton.
He dropped the harpoon gun and whistled to himself as he walked the distance to where the shapeshifter was still gagging, still twitching, and grabbing onto the pole that had impaled her. As he came closer, she started changing from one form to another. Giant bodybuilder, an Olympic-style wrestler, a morbidly obese man, a child, Jerry, O'Brien, me, Spencer, and then it started switching faster and faster. 10 different people each second, all of them holding onto the spear and bleeding out into the snow. It went through 100 of them before it finally stopped and settled on that of a frail old Asian woman, teeny and wrinkled with more white hair than black, huddled in a field position as tears rolled down the side of her nose into the snow. Something told me that the shapeshifter had a true form. I was looking at it.
"Struggle all you like," Spencer said to her. "That spear is a tungsten silver alloy. Can't pull it out or break it. I own you. And in a minute, dead or alive, I'm going to sell you."
He grabbed her around the neck and dragged her away. All I could do was watch them go. She connected eyes with me until Spencer had dragged her around the side of the gas station, and then that was it. I was alone.
What the fuck just happened? Spencer fucking killed the shapeshifter with the fucking harpoon. I know that, but like, what?
Something likable was taken away by Spencer.
Oh gosh, I couldn't move anymore. Even breathing was beginning to become a near impossible task. I thought about how strange this was going to look to Jerry, or O'Brien, or whoever was going to be unlucky enough to find me out here clutching my four-fingered hand under my armpit and staring out at the forest. The blood in the snow was already being erased under a slow flurry of snowflakes, and after an hour or less, it looked like none of this had ever happened. People knew I had mental issues, so this wouldn't even be front page news. The only curiosity will be, I wonder what happened to his finger?
Well, there are certainly worse ways to go, especially in a world with monsters like Sagoth and Spencer.
I watched the snowflakes fall and focused all my effort on the labor of drawing in one more breath, and then one more, and then one more after that. It might be pointless, but I'm going to get my last few seconds.
And then the back door opened and somebody came over to my side, grabbed me by the shirt collar and started dragging. He dragged me through the back hall and instantly felt the blood rushing through my veins all over again. He took me all the way to the front of the store and dropped me onto my back before crouching down next to me and smiling.
I told you I'd let you live if I caught what I wanted, and a deal is a deal, right?
I took a deep breath of warm air and tried to find the right words to tell Spencer just how much I hated him, but I couldn't. He didn't seem to need me to anyway.
You know, Jack, maybe things aren't meant to change. Maybe things are the way they are for a reason. I mean, it's been up and down for both of us. We've both lost so many friends here at this gas station. Kiefer, Carlos, Tom, that Hunter asshole from this morning. But at the end of the day, only two things are constant. You and me. You're like the shitty Batman to my awesome Joker. And don't worry about the shapeshifter. I just handed her off to my new boss so she won't be bothering you anymore.
Of course he'd think the Joker was cool. He stared out the doors at something I couldn't see and smiled a big, smug, self-satisfied smile.
You're right. Some things never change, like how you never remember that I can pick your pockets.
Hey, Spencer, I said, and soon my voice had come back to me.
Yeah? You asked?
I'm right-handed.
I stuck the tip of the revolver into his stomach and pulled the trigger. The look on his face was of, I cannot believe that shit just happened.
He fell onto his ass and looked at the gun in my hand, and at the rapidly growing circle of blood on his chest. You little piece of shit!
O'Brien fuckingly woke up and ran out of the cooler into the front room yelling, "What was that noise? Jack, are you okay?"
Spencer grabbed his stomach and bolted out the front doors. I tried to yell to O'Brien to go after him, but I had lost the ability to talk again, and instead I just closed my eyes and waited.
I got to ride in an ambulance, which is pretty cool. I also got to take Christmas Day off from work, which is the closest thing to a Christmas miracle I'm going to get, so I'll take it.
The others all came and visited me at the hospital in shifts. Somebody has to stay and watch the gas station. And I even got to eat like 10 packs of chocolate pudding. There's a nurse here that I suspect has a thing for me because she keeps sneaking me extra desserts.
Okay.
Once again, the official report is that nothing supernatural happened. Saul's disappearance, my beating, the damage to the gas station, all the blood were blamed on Spencer. The others have absolutely no recollection of the night, and I'm left with no proof besides my notoriously shaky memory, which is why I decided to write it all down before I forgot anything.
All in all, it wasn't the worst Christmas I've ever had.
On Christmas Day, the nurse brought me a neatly gift-wrapped box. I asked it who it was from, and she just smiled and said somebody special had dropped it off for me.
I unwrapped it and opened it to find another smaller box. I unwrapped it to find another box. Inside the box, another smaller box. The last box was small enough to fit inside the palm of my hand. Somebody had gone through a lot of trouble making this, and I was starting to get very uneasy feeling.
Finally opened the last box and confirmed my suspicions. Inside that last box were two things: a small paper note, my severed finger.
The note only had 3 words written on it in a dried brown ink.
Merry Christmas, Jack.
And that is where we are going to leave this one up.
Jeez, that was a trip.
Yeah.
Kind of disappointed the shapeshifter got kidnapped and sold. That's a downer.
Just a little bit.
Who's gonna stop the monster when he comes back in 100 years?
Nobody.